Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. Our broadcast today comes from our most recent MetaStrategy Digital Symposium. It's an interview I did with former Mexican President Vicente Fox. President Fox served as the president of Mexico between 2000 and 2006. He currently serves as the president of Centro Fox, an institution committed to training compassionate leaders and entrepreneurs through social values to create a better future. Prior to his time in politics, President Fox served as the chief executive officer of Coca-Cola in Mexico. In this interview, we cover the topics of leadership, and President Fox articulates key traits that determine a successful leader. He also gives a thumbnail sketch of the state of politics currently in Mexico and across Latin America. He describes the evolution that Mexico has gone through to become a hub for technology and talent in the global economy as well, and shares his perspectives on the current war in Ukraine. He describes why leadership needs to be both compassionate and purposeful in order to work, and also talks about what makes him optimistic for the future and the work he's doing now to make it a better place for everyone. With that, I want to begin the conversation with my friend, the former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox. President Fox, welcome to the MetaStrategy Digital Symposium. It is so wonderful to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. It's so nice to see you here again. And you've always been a very special guest in our presidential library in Mexico, where we run many events in relation to technology, business, even cannabis. So we move the ball around. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm pleased to be here with you.
It's an honor indeed to include you in this conversation. And as I was mentioning before, Mr. President, these are really dynamic times, to say the least. And there's been a real rise of populism on the left, populism on the right in many countries, including both of our countries as well. And I thought I might begin with just a quick question to you about the state of play in Mexico currently, as somebody who has, again, deep roots in business, deep roots in government at the highest levels in both. Talk a bit about your own perspectives on the status currently of Mexico, if you would.
Okay, thanks again. And let me start by saying that in the polarity of politics, usually we speak about the left, the far left, the center, the right, and the far right. But something else was born in the last 10 years in Latin America, which we have addressed it like populism, which at the very end is demagoguery. It's these guys that come with a very strong desire and will to power, and they use democratic means. So they came to power through democratic means, which is a fake, which is an engaño. And once they are in power, then they show their teeth and they show what they really are. Talking about guys like Maduro in Venezuela, Chavez before him in Venezuela, the Castros more identified with communism. But then we have in Bolivia, we have in Nicaragua, we have in Centro America, and about 1/3 of economies in Latin America now are run by this type of guy. They don't have a specific ideology. What they do is get to power by promising many, many things that they are never going to be able to comply with, and they are not going to be able to deliver. But once they are in power, they manage. They manage, even if they don't deliver, they manage to stay there. And usually, and this is the worst part of it that is coming, is that usually they change constitutions in countries like Mexico, where we don't have re-election, and they change the constitution to go for a second term, which is not allowed, for instance, in the case of Mexico. And that's one of the big worries we have at this time. If this guy might try to, I'm referring to López Obrador, the actual president of Mexico, he is exactly the description I just showed about. He ran 3 times to get to be president, and each one of them, he promised and promised and promised. Now, the other thing is that they are far away from having the execution of the budget in a very efficient manner and productive manner. So what they usually do is giveaways to everybody by different categories of citizens. And through giveaways, they keep control. And the problem with that is that you build up lazy communities, lazy citizens. They don't care about going to work. They don't care about investing 8 hours of the day on trying to get income, but they just expect it coming from the government. In a way, in the United States, you have little or much of a left side demagoguery and populism, and extreme right also. So that's why the United States in a divide right now. Some Democrats, half of the population, the other half is Republicans. We have that same divide in the rest of the world, and particularly in Latin America. But the divide is according to income. So the divide is those who have and who have plenty, and those who don't have, and so they don't have opportunities. I think, and with this I end up this comment, when I was president, I like the horse, running the horse. I have my saddle chair right behind me. You have 2 bridles, and you have to be very careful on how you manage. Little bit pull the bridle to move to the left, but not the far left or anything like that, so that you attend so many needs, and so you try to distribute income. And then you pull up the right bridle to promote, to create wealth through a strong, friendly government with the business community and with investors. Because a big confusion with these populist governments, they think they generate wealth and that they create wealth. That's not true. They just spend the money that taxpayers put in their hands. And so that's why this handling the bridles with careful balance is the way you have the 2 things, because the problem is getting worse and worse, worse distribution of income. The education capacity or the ability to participate of people is very scarce. So again, distribution of education and information is as bad as distribution of income, if not worse. So these people behind finally have a voice through what you're doing, through information technologies and communication technologies. Finally, they have a voice, and they want to be on board. And they want to be part of the success and part of progress and development. But finally, they are demanding that we create those opportunities for them. And that's the big challenge for government and politicians today, as far as I can see.
Very interesting. Thank you for that context setting. Very important. I want to actually talk a bit about a great message about things that are happening in Mexico. I know a great number of people who are attending today who have significant teams, American-based companies with significant teams in places like Guadalajara, for instance, and other tech hubs that are emerging across Mexico. I know you are somebody who's been very progressive in your thinking about technology. You even alluded to it a moment ago in your earlier response, the importance of technology as an enabler, as a way to perhaps get beyond this divide in some ways. Talk a bit about your own perspectives of the evolution of Mexico as a technology hub and some of your vision there as well.
Okay, just for all of you, in Mexico, 99% of global corporations, Fortune 500s, operate in Mexico, and they make pretty good money in Mexico. They get pretty good return. And that's why Mexico has a very strong manufacturing settlement, has a very strong presence of technology. All the technology companies are operating in Mexico. Basically, two places. One is Guadalajara, which has become a hub of technology and information technologies. And the other one is Monterrey, where this big, huge settlement of businesses are, the big lords of industry in Mexico, the Mexican corporations. More than half of them are right there in Monterrey. The big groups are from Monterrey. So Mexico is advancing on information technologies, in technology in general, but because it was incentivized, because we had former governments, including my government, not only friendly with business and investment, but friendly with technology and really pushing forward. sharing part of the budget to improve and increment the presence of technology. So we were doing great, but again, you get one of these populists and there is no money assigned. The budgets that we had to support and promote technology, science, is not there anymore. And so the way I see the world is like it used to be the Enlightenment, which is the founding fathers' philosophy, specifically Thomas Jefferson. And the Enlightenment is, number one is science, and science so that you can, like any people dedicated to science or any universities, to prove things, to prove the facts. If you have a stone in your hand, you let it go down to the floor and you see that it falls down. And so you create the policy of relativity and through science, reason. And this is part of what we're losing in the world. We have so much fake news and so immense amount of information coming to our desk that we just get lost. And so we have to be very, very objective on analyzing the information we get, of sustaining or documenting that is real, good, and positive information, well sustained. And so that the other thing that we tend to forget about, especially the governments and bureaucrats and some businesses, is humanism. If we don't have that ingredient present in any of the things we do, if we're not humane, if we don't worry about others, if we don't worry about the community, if we don't worry about the world, if we don't worry about environment, we're lost. The future will be destroyed. So to me, doing for others is a key ingredient that has to do with humanism, and that is in a good way lost on the activities of governments and businesses.
Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. President, I wanted to ask you about the war in Ukraine. While you were president of Mexico, you spent time with Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin. He's somebody who you've been able to measure the man to some extent. And I wonder your own thought process about what is happening there, and moreover, your interpretation of the world's response as a result of that act of aggression.
Yes. Sad. Absolutely sad what is going on there. And by having war, there's no progress. Anybody that is in war will destroy possibilities of progress, education, investment. I tended to respect Putin as a leader, and but a leader that didn't show exactly what he had within himself. A leader that made good things for Russia with a strong character, a strong leadership, but he moved to the authoritarian side of leadership. And that's the worst side of leadership. It's something that doesn't work. What works on leadership is the compassive side of leadership. The good face of leadership is compassion. And then through compassion, in leadership, you build up your purpose. And purpose is a word that is incredibly meaningful. Every single action in life, in human beings, has to have a purpose, and define that purpose so that you know what are you shooting for, where are you going. And of course, the key to leadership is purpose, but with performance. Because leaders tend to just plan and do a lot of visionary things and speak about them in seminars and education, but the real leader is the one who performs, who makes things happen. And that's when you're looking for human resources into your organization, I will look for leadership. And then there are ways of measuring leadership, even by just talking to a person, seeing his eyes and listening to him. You catch that he's a leader. But then the cause of that leader. In the case of Putin, is very negative. It's authoritarian, it's difficult to deal with him. And leadership is such a power within that even those that don't have the right cause do great things, but harm people and everything. So Putin, I spent hours and hours with him at the Kremlin, and he tried to show the grandeur of Russia, the grandeur of the past Russia of the Tsars and the big empire they were. He doesn't even think about communism. He's a communist. He doesn't even remember who Marx is or whoever this communism. What he is, people full of ego and grandiosity, big things. It's so sad what he's doing right now that I'm not his friend anymore. If anytime I was friendly with him. And we're trying to help the Ukrainians here in our place at Centro Fox. We're finding out ways and means that we can help them out. And I think the whole world, absolutely the whole world, the world of technology, the world of business, the world of politics, we should be on the right side. And the right side is being with Ukrainians.
Thank you. And what great insights you had about leadership as well, Mr. President. Inspiring words about the need for purpose, but also the need for us to go find leaders within our organizations who will be the drivers of positive change for us. I wanted to ask you a lot of thorny topics that we've been talking about. You do so much good work in Mexico and abroad. I wonder, could you talk a bit about some of the things that are making you optimistic as you look to the future? What are some of the things you've gotten involved in that have you waking up with a smile on your face?
Well, today, two things keep me optimistic. One, watching and understanding processes of development, the processes of history all around the world, and the way we have managed to keep on going to the future, the whole of the world. We do have wars, but not the big world wars that we had last century. We have acquired immense success and progress in these last 3 decades. Globalization was a factor, important factor. Now it's highly questioned. I don't understand why, but it's highly questioned. Trading, which used to be the tool to progress, like Mexico did on its trade agreement with the United States. By the way, the trade agreement balance with the United States and Mexico is reaching $1 trillion US worth of exchange in both of our economies. But the surprise is it's an even balance. We export, Mexico exports as much as we buy from the United States. And this is something that should be known more in United States, because the farmers in the United States, the cattle ranchers, the technology, and else have gained competitiveness through this virtuous trading association that we have. United States has won through NAFTA competitiveness, enormous competitiveness, the big corporations. Of course, for instance, as an example, here in our region, the Bajío, 3 states, Querétaro, Guanajuato, Aguascalientes, 4 in San Luis Potosí, we have 11 state-of-the-art manufacturing automobile companies producing automobiles here. Imagine 11 in one small region with only 12 million inhabitants. No elsewhere in the world you have something similar. And this is because the competitiveness we reach by Mexico, of course, supplying labor, supplying great quality work and efficient work. And the United States providing technology, providing management, very high standards of management. And Canada, in the case, also has things that provide. So it's a virtuous association, very strong, which I would, any of your companies should look at. If you're not in Mexico, you're losing the good things about growth, prosperity, and progress.
That's really great. Last question for you, Mr. President. Talk a bit about how you're spending your days these days. What are some of the organizations that you've gotten involved in? How are you spending your time?
Okay, I say I'm on extra time now because I'm 80. And 16 years, I was in family, in school, nourishing myself here in San Cristobal. Second quarter, 16 years with the Coca-Cola Company, where I learned huge amount of things, incredible amount of things. I started delivering Coca-Cola and the mom and pop stores in the route. That's where I started. I ended up being CEO for Mexico and Latin America. Then third quarter, I decided to come back to the ranch, to the farm, and we have a huge farm here with 10,000 acres. Excuse me, 1,000 acres, and everything we produce here is exported. So I travel around the world promoting the products: broccolis, cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, berries, tons and tons of berries. And maybe you don't know, all of you, that 70% of the broccoli you eat in the United States comes from Mexico. Avocado is coming from Mexico, and many other products. So we are the food provider to the US economy. So that's third quarter. Fourth quarter, politics. A guy invited me to join into politics, so I started like a grassroots, and I became president of Mexico after being governor, and before that being congressman. So that's why I say now I'm in extra time. This last 16 years, Martha and I have been working through 3 foundations that we have just to do for the poor, just to do what I call the short route to happiness, which is working for others. So we wake up every morning here at your home, which is in the ranch, hearing the pajaritos, the birds, and the very nice noise in the morning. And so we enjoy life here, we enjoy the family, but we have a big challenge with our 3 foundations. One of them, the Presidential Library. Number 2, one dedicated to wheelchairs, to protein, to nutrition for the poor. And the other one is San Miguel de Allende, which I will invite you all to come. It's the most beautiful place in the world. And there we have a foundation attending handicapped, attending brain damaged persons, severe brain damage, 320 of them we attend there in San Miguel de Allende. So we have a happy life every day, doing for others, and we have a happy life, enjoying the family and enjoying this place, which is your home.
Well, I look forward to making it back to my home again very soon, Mr. President. I am so honored to know you first and foremost, but also honored that you would take time out of your busy schedule. And I admire the great work that you did as a business leader, as a head of a government, a head of state, and now giving back so much of your time to those in need. Remarkable the things that you have done and the number of causes that you have touched. And you certainly touched this audience by joining us today. So thank you so much for doing so.
Gracias, amigo Pedro.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Bye-bye, everybody. Enjoy.